Welcome to Against the Spread, where we pick NFL games for you against the spread. And there are only two, because we're down to four teams. It is championship weekend. Who gets the berth to go to Tampa and play in the Super Bowl? Could it be Tampa as they go on the road to Lambeau? Why don't we start there? Because I think it's the GOAT QBs going up against each other. The Bay and Tampa going against Green Bay. Rodgers, Brady, the two number 12s. The story writes itself, but the line right now is written at -3 for the home Packers. Where are you leaning in this one?
It's really tough to bet against Tom Brady in a situation like this, considering this will be his 14th conference championship game, and all the rings he's got. It's ridiculous, but at this point in time, it really comes down to two factors for me. One is the home field advantage, which we haven't really seen in the NFL this year because of many factors, one of them being no fans. But Green Bay is a little bit different, especially this time of year. And then the second one is my trust in these offenses. And I really just trust the Packers offense more. What we've seen from the Bucs offense over the last few weeks has definitely been promising. But even in these playoff games, I haven't been completely convinced that if it comes down to a shootout or having to keep up with the best offense in the NFL, that they're going to be able to do it. They needed, and they took advantage of this, but they needed 3 turnovers last week to score touchdowns. That's not going to happen against Aaron Rodgers, or at least it hasn't been happening. So when I think of Aaron Rodgers, that Packers offense, they can beat you so many ways. Devontae Adams could really do some damage against any one of these corners, and they can run the ball with a dominant offensive line, even without David Bakhtiari. So I really like the Packers offense. I think the Bucs are going to give them a run. I think it's going to be a close game, a tight game. But ultimately, where am I going to put my money? It's on Aaron Rodgers and the number one offense in the NFL.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to me, it's about the Bucs defense versus the Packers offense. And you mentioned Aaron Rodgers being able to protect the football, and they're not going to be able to get those turnovers. 50 TDs, 5 INTs, a 10-to-1 TD interception ratio gives you, a crazy total QBR in 85. But also it means that you're not going to give that Buccaneers offense a short field like they were given a couple times against the Saints. And specifically in the defensive matchup against Todd Bowles. Many people are talking about Brady versus Rodgers. I think this is Bowles versus Rodgers, and the fact that we know he loves to blitz. The Bucs blitz more than any other team in the NFC. And we know Aaron Rodgers, it's like stealing for him when you blitz him, because he's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly no matter what. And they do such a good job, has LaFleur, mixing in the play action pass even when you're going up against a blitz-heavy team. 24 TDs, 0 INTs for Rodgers against the play action pass. So I think we're going to see some more of Lazard getting crowned in the end zone. I think we're going to see some big plays. I think we're going to see a lot of points. So the over-under is 51. I'm going over. I'm not sure where you are in the over-under, but I do agree that Green Bay wins the game and wins it by more than 3 and will cover. The line started at 3.5. It's now 3. Watch it as it continues to move when we get closer to kickoff. But if it's in and around that area, I like the Pack comfortably. How do you feel about the over-under at 51?
I think I'm going to go with the under just because, I felt like we've expected a lot of points in these playoffs so far, and we haven't really got a ton of points in a lot of these games. And so that's kind of been the trend. Defenses have been stepping up a little bit, but I also, again, think the weather is going to be a factor. And I think 51 may just be a little too much for me, the way that I think this game is going to play out. I think the blitz, just one more point, I think the blitz, like you mentioned, is going to be a crucial part of this game, because the last time these two teams played, the Bucs blitzed the Packers like crazy, and uncharacteristically it worked. That seems like an outlier, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on as Aaron Rodgers looks for a little bit of revenge against the Bucs.
Yeah, first NFC Championship game for Aaron Rodgers at home. It'll be a fun one to watch. Normally at this time of year, we're thinking defense wins championships, but we got some offensive teams still playing and some really good quarterbacks, and that's the case for the other matchup. Buffalo going to KC. KC, again, -3 is the line. The over-under in that one is 54. It was at 55. But both of those numbers are going to change depending on the health and availability of Patrick Mahomes. And that is obviously the elephant in the room as we make these picks. So assuming that Mahomes is playing, he's got to pass through 5 steps in the protocol. Apparently, for Adam Schefter, he's passed the most difficult steps and is expected to be on the field as in terms of what we know right now, working with the toe issue that he had and the concussion protocol. Assuming he's playing, -3, 54 over under, where are you leaning in this one?
It's hard not to lean Chiefs if Mahomes is in the game. And like you mentioned, he is dealing with that toe injury, but unless it's got considerably worse since what we saw on Sunday, I'm not all that concerned because he did seem, at least he was limpy, but he was at least a little bit mobile. He did run around on it. I mean, he got hurt on a play where he was running. So I'm not all that concerned about the toe injury. And so at home with 17,000 fans, something we're not really used to, with Patrick Mahomes and all those weapons, it's hard not to lean with the Chiefs. I think the Bills will definitely give them a run for their money if Mahomes is in the game. What we haven't seen from the Bills yet is a complete team effort. The first week against the Colts, the defense really struggled, and then last week against the Ravens, they needed that defense in order to win the game. So I'm really interested to see if the Bills will be able to put it all together in this game, but still, I think it's really going to be tough to overcome Patrick Mahomes if he's in this game, and that Chiefs offense on the road.
I agree, and you talk about his ability to run. I mean, even after he was hobbled, he still was picking up, a key first down on 3rd down with his legs. That's why he extends drives and just a backbreaker, somewhat physically, but also, mentally with those plays to find ways to keep that offense on the field. And I think his legs are going to be a big part of this, coming into, this game. He's got rushing TDs in 3 straight playoff games that ties the streak with Steve Young. So clearly his legs, when it really, really matters, is a big part of this. So obviously you want him to be healthy. And, head injuries are something you don't mess around with. But in terms of his availability, I'm also equally concerned with that toe, making sure he's able to be mobile. But if he's upright and playing, I really do like the Chiefs in this one. And I especially like them because of their defense. A unit that's not talked about a lot because their offense is so prolific, but 10th in the NFL, allowing 22.6 points a game. We saw them really, really step up and rise to the challenge when Mahomes was injured and really the game was on their back. And I think we could see something similar. So in terms of prop bets, obviously the QB who's most likely to rush for TD would be Josh Allen. But I think the QB that might give you more value to rush for TD, assuming that he's healthy, is Patrick Mahomes. And his ability to extend plays with his legs is a reason why I think Kansas City is going to cover the 3 points and win this one.
You mentioned the over-under being 54. Where are you leaning on that?
I'm going to go under with you as well. The Chiefs, we have talked a lot in this very segment about the fact that they're not necessarily covering as much as we think. They haven't necessarily been as high scoring as we've thought throughout the back end of this year. So I do think this one is going to be a field position game, a game where things are held pretty close to the vest, and it'll come down to the last couple possessions and being pragmatic in terms of special teams. But I'm going to go the under with 55. We haven't seen too many shootouts in the playoffs thus far, and I think that'll be the case. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning with the over. The under is enticing 100% just because, like I said, we haven't really seen a complete Bills performance yet. But I do like the idea of these teams getting involved in a shootout if Mahomes is able to go. And I think that's what it could end up coming down to. It will be interesting, though, because the last time these two teams played, way back in Week 6, Josh Allen had what probably was his worst game of the year. The Chiefs were able to get some pressure. He missed a lot of throws, especially early on. And then the Chiefs ended up dominating possession with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So that will be interesting. That game didn't surpass this over, but I think this weekend these teams will put on a show if Mahomes is able to get into the game.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a game time decision, didn't play in the divisional round. So don't just check for the availability of Patrick Mahomes when you're looking to bet at this game. Check in on what happens to the guy who's also often beside him in the backfield, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So whose legacy of the 4 QBs left, whose legacy can really improve the most and be accelerated with a good performance?
It's hard not to look at Josh Allen right now and say that it's a legacy just beginning, but the transformation that he's gone through this season to cap it off with a Super Bowl would be a remarkable feat considering what we thought this quarterback was just 12 months ago. But I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers because I think that is the legacy that is on the line right now. I think Tom Brady's legacy is solidified. 6 or 7, it's ridiculous to say, but it doesn't really make a difference in the overall legacy of Tom Brady. He is the GOAT. He is the best of all time. But for Aaron Rodgers, he just has that one Super Bowl win. And to be considered among the all-time greats, we talked about this a lot with Peyton Manning. He didn't have that second one until the very end. And I think Aaron Rodgers, with the season that he's put together, arguably his best at the age of 37, I think to cap that off with a Super Bowl win in one of the most bizarre years we'll ever experience in our lives, I think that would really cap and solidify Aaron Rodgers' legacy as among the greatest of all time.
So I was thinking Rodgers. I thought that was the easy answer. It's the sports narrative answer that I'm hoping for. But I think he's going to get a jolt because he's going to be named the MVP in this, revenge tour of a season after everyone is upset that they didn't draft another receiver. They drafted his potential, replacement in Jordan Love. He just took a team and said, yeah, I know I only had one receiver who caught for over 500 yards last year. Well, now I got 3 because I'm that good that I'll make any receivers that good. But I actually think when I thought about it more, it's Tom Brady. And I know, yes, he's won championships. He's considered the GOAT as is. But if he goes through Drew Brees and then Aaron Rodgers and then potentially Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and he does it on a new team, and a team that didn't make the playoffs and was irrelevant a year ago, and then is a Super Bowl champion in their home state, all the while the dynasty that he was at fell apart as soon as he left, I think that not only enhances Brady's legacy, but there's a dual factor. I think it hurts Bill Belichick's legacy, quite frankly, because we often thought, Brady's really good, but he's in a system, he's in a great organization. How much credit are we giving him? I think we got to give him a lot of credit if we're going wins above replacement. So I think if Brady is able to do this with an entirely different offense, no risk it, no biscuit, with Byron Leftwich calling the plays for him, I think it shows the true value of him, not just as a player, hit a great year, 40 TDs passing, second in the league, second most in his career, but really as someone who, from a leadership standpoint, can change the culture of a franchise. And so that's why I think it's Tom Brady. So it sounds like we're both going to be glued to the NFC Championship game because it's going to give us confirmation bias on what the narrative is going to be coming out of it. Either way, it's going to be a great slate of games and a really, really interesting Super Bowl, no matter who gets there.